We are just under a month away from the launch of Trails in the Sky First Chapter, but as of today, there is a demo available for the game which will carry over to the full release. A very generous demo too, it has to be said. It will take you right to the end of the prologue, which is about 5 to 7 hours of content on average, and that is more than enough for you to decide if this game will be worth picking up. I was given the chance to check that content out early, for obvious reasons. I took up that opportunity too, considering it's my most anticipated release of the year, and all I can say now is this: Falcom have delivered. Even from this demo alone, I have seen enough, and I have no concerns about this game anymore. The lingering doubt that was there, which admittedly was small by this point anyway, is gone. I am now fully locked into excitement mode for Trails in the Sky First Chapter. I am extremely confident that it will deliver a memorable experience worthy of its predecessor. Because from what I have seen in this demo, it is clear to me that Falcom knew exactly what they needed to do in this remake, which was to take that original game and provide a new way to experience it. Not a better way. This remake will not replace the original as far as I'm concerned. For me, they will coexist together, but it felt like I was playing the original again, but with a new perspective. Everything is where it's meant to be. The world feels so familiar but fresh at the same time. Mechanics that defined the original game are still here. For all intents, it is a game that has been made by fans of the original, fans who now want to stamp their own mark within that legacy. And this is the truth. Back before Sky First Chapter was even announced, Kondo made it clear that the staff were working on a game that a lot of them loved. A game that was the reason why many of them joined the company over 20 years ago. For me, this is how a remake should be. Modernising it for someone unfamiliar with the series, but also giving a way to re-experience that journey for fans of the 2004 release. As soon as I saw that opening sequence, which clearly drew parallels with the original, I knew that this game would deliver. It's essentially a love letter for fans of the original, something that brings a tear to the eye. This is the remake that I was waiting for. Now before jumping in, let's go over the PC port, because this was a point of contention considering Falcom were working on this in-house. This was not worked on by Durante and PH3 Games, who have done superb work on other Falcom PC ports. Granted, it's early days, but I was happy with it. It was stable, and it provided a good amount of options relative to what I expect from a competent port. You can put FPS all the way up to unlimited, you've got graphical presets all the way up to ultra. I'm not sure on resolution, as I am capped at 1080p, but I imagine it can go higher if you have compatible hardware. You have anti-aliasing, a rendering scale for more powerful GPUs, and a bunch of other miscellaneous options. All in all, I was happy with the PC port from what I saw. You've also got the choice of using the Japanese or English dub. I opted for the Japanese dub here, as I've been using that since Cold Steel 3, but it's worth pointing out if anyone was worried that the game was lacking an English dub. Based on the demo alone, I have no issue recommending the PC port for Sky First Chapter. As for difficulty options, you have 5 choices. Very easy, easy, normal, hard, and nightmare. I went with hard mode, as I did with the original Sky FC, for a more faithful comparison between the difficulty of both the original and the remake.
父さん遅いな。今日帰るってギルドから連絡があったのに。シェラ姉は修行で王国一周旅行してるし。つまんない。
Now as you start at the game, fans of the original will be greeted by a nostalgic sight. Anyone who is familiar with Sky First Chapter knows the story here. 2 members of the Bright family, Estelle and Joshua Bright, set off on a journey to become fully fledged bracers by adventuring around the kingdom of La Burle, all while finding themselves embroiled in a much bigger situation. What will hit many players immediately is the presentation. Naturally, this is 20 years on from the original, it's going to look different, and Falcom have changed a great deal over the past 2 decades. Falcom have been utilising their new engine since the first Daybreak game, and it has made so much more possible in terms of cinematography, and man does it work well for Sky First Chapter. The art direction and animation is so good. The scenes that matter, the events that are the highlights of Sky First Chapter, have clearly been given time and care. The animations are on point, they feel so smooth, and there are many scenes within the original that I cannot wait to see in this new format. In the prologue alone, there have been so many great moments already, but knowing what else happens within this story, I am on the edge of my seat waiting to see what else they come up with. The remake feels very faithful to the original. The cutscenes pretty much feel like one-to-one comparisons, the structure of the story feels familiar, as do the side quests, which are basically the same ones as were seen in 2004, but there's no doubt that they just have a new pizzazz to them. The charm is still there, but once again it feels fresh, and even if you're like me and have played the original multiple times, I think you'll still feel anticipation of what will happen in certain events, just from watching how some of these cutscenes play out. As I've said before, the world feels faithfully recreated. The structure of Roland, for example, is pretty much exactly the same outside of its scale, which undoubtedly feels bigger. But landmarks like the clock tower, the restaurant, the mayor's residence, everything is where it should be, and for me it has never looked better. Birds will fly off in the distance, you'll see airships off to their destinations, the various roads are vast and teeming with wildlife. This is everything I wanted. I am aware that the game does have added content never before seen in the original too, but in the prologue at least, I have yet to see any. Now, as for the characters, let's jump to those, because a point of concern for many was the change in translation. Xseed did a fantastic job with their take on the script, even going so far as to add fan favourite elements like chest messages when it was officially localised, which I'll make clear now are not in this game. They only existed due to an interesting programming characteristic in the original, so it stands to reason they wouldn't be in the remake. Now, Gung Ho stated that they intended to retranslate the game in order to be more faithful to the Japanese script, and even early on you will see the changes, though from what I've seen, the intended meaning of what is being said is still essentially the same. For example, the opening scene where Joshua is brought back to the Bright household has a famous line from Estelle asking, "Why is my present a boy?" Lines like that are no longer here, but what they substituted it with still has the same meaning essentially, and that's all I really care about. When I think of a good translation, I want the message and meaning of the source material to be conveyed accurately, and I want the characters to not sound like robots. As long as that is adhered to, then I'm fine with everything else, and from what I've seen so far, Gung Ho have done a good job. Estelle's tomboyish personality is still there, and what aids it further is that the presentation of her character visually just puts more emphasis on those character traits. It's no longer a situation where the personality of Estelle or Joshua is mostly confined to their sprite and dialogue, the visuals also play a big role now. The one thing I was a little disappointed with is that the Asmelas Tower remains as Jade Tower in this version, which I would only want changed for the sake of consistency. It doesn't affect my enjoyment, as I know those terms are referring to the same thing, but for a newer player that could be a point of confusion if they decided to jump to Sky's second chapter afterwards. It's also worth noting that some of the quartz names have changed too. For example, the quartz known simply as Poison has been changed over to Poison Blade, which again small change, but the meaning is still there. In short, I knew changes were going to be made to the translation, but it didn't affect my enjoyment one bit. Now, arguably the biggest change outside of the visuals was the shift in combat. The original used the standard turn-based affair with the isometric view, the remake opts to use the hybrid style that has been in place since Daybreak 1. I've made clear that I am a fan of the hybrid style, so this doesn't bother me at all, and if you've played either of the Daybreak games, it's fairly similar to those. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the mechanics though, can I just once again call out these animations? They killed it, man. Honestly, these craft animations just look superb, and what's so good about this is that they're clearly grounded in the original, but have been given just a little spicing up. Joshua's flicker ability or his S-craft are a good example of that. You can see the similarity, but it undoubtedly looks badass. Anyway, referencing an Xbox One controller here, you have your action mode where Estelle, Joshua, or whoever is in control can use a basic combo with the B button, they can dodge with the A button, the Y button allows for craft maneuvers, which are basically a big bonk on the head, and the X button transitions to the command mode. In command mode you can freely move around to reposition, B allows for a standard attack, Y accesses the crafts menu, X allows you to use arts, and then if you hold the A button, you can go into an overdrive state, which allows for a guaranteed chain attack and makes you immune to status ailments for a certain period. The chain attacks are similar to the ones you'd see in, say, Cold Steel. You have a pool of Brave points up to a max of 5, using 1 will allow for a link attack, using 3 allows for a burst, and I imagine there will be one more option using all 5 points for an all-out attack with every member. Each character also has a collection of support abilities with more unlocking as you level up. These range from providing cover for characters under attack to self-applied powerful buffs. Of course you have S-crafts as well, which you can use at any time, though it doesn't appear to work like the older games did where you could steal a timeline bonus from an enemy. It just seemed to put me above them rather than taking their place. The only way to steal a bonus is to delay the enemy or stun them. And that's the general gist of the combat. Like I say, if you're familiar with Daybreak or even Horizon, you won't find too much to be surprised about here. Though I will say this, for the prologue at least, the game feels harder than the original, like enemy health pools are higher to compensate for the wider variety of options and damage has naturally been pumped up too, but I noticed it for sure. I'm not sure if this will change in the latter stages as I'm well aware that the original is also more difficult early on, but I had more trouble with the remake than I ever did with the original. Maybe I'm just not too caught up with the new mechanics yet, or maybe I'm simply playing it like I would the original, which could be the wrong approach altogether. Either way, I felt this was worth mentioning. Lastly, there is a turbo mode in the game. You can activate this by holding the right bumper and then toggling the option with the left bumper, easy enough to work with, and it is a standard of Trails entries nowadays anyway. The only real issue I had with the combat, which sadly has been the case since moving to the seamless battle transitions, is that the victory screens and poses are mostly gone. They still appear after certain bosses, but they're notably infrequent in this game. An unfortunate omission, but I can live with it.
いい感じだ。
グッジョブよっしゃ。
So that covers the bulk of the gameplay, but there are a few other things to cover. For one, anyone who was worried about the orbment system being overhauled to something more simple, rejoice, because it's pretty much exactly the same as it was before. You put quartz into the orbment, and then element values will determine what arts the character has access to. But the remake has made it slightly better, as you can access the glossary of arts while arranging quartz, rather than having to check it out in the Bracer notebook. As for that notebook, it's also similar to the original. It's basically your go-to reference for side quests, recipes, monster information, and of course functions as a place where you can read in-game books like the Labelle News or Carnelia. One small change has been made in regards to cooking though, as similar to Horizon, cooking a dish for the first time successfully will lead to some minor stat boosts for the whole party. In terms of quests, it's taken on that modern approach where side quests are marked with a yellow icon on the map. Blue marks indicate optional events, and the red marks are for main story progression. In the prologue, like I say, I didn't happen upon any new content, nor did I see any hidden quests, so I'm not sure yet if that side quest marker will apply to the hidden ones that are in the original. Once again, that's something I will keep an eye on for the full release. Plus, the game has fast travel available for any area you may have visited before. And that will wrap us up, I think. As far as demo impressions go, Sky First Chapter couldn't do much more for me. Like I said at the beginning of the video, my lingering doubts about the game are now gone. I have total confidence that this remake will do everything it is setting out to do. It will bring new fans in, no doubt, but it will also make many fans of the original smile. It really does feel like a remake done right, and I can't wait to see it in full when it releases less than a month later. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe for more JRPG content and consider joining my Patreon if you're interested. Peace.